So today we're going to be talking about cables and why certain companies make cables that are 18 feet long. This is the new line of PRS cables. They just sent me some of these, and that's what kind of sparked the idea for this conversation, because some of the cables they sent are 18-foot cables. Now, this is not new. Fender makes an 18.5-foot cable. Hosa currently makes a line of 18-foot guitar cables. So does Megami and a couple other brands, but not every brand and not in every level of cable price. So the question becomes, why would a company make an 18-foot guitar cable? And the answer is pretty simple. At a certain distance, in other words, how long the cable is, you're going to have a point where you're going to lose your high-end frequencies. Now, before we get into this, there's no question that this is a real thing. A guitar cable has what's called capacitance, and the longer the cable, the higher the capacitance, which means the more high end is rolled off. The guitar tech for Eddie Van Halen once said that Eddie could tell the difference between a 5-foot and a 10-foot cable. And to be honest, I can too with measuring tape, but I think he meant with his ear. So the question of this video is not whether or not cables have capacitance, because they do, and whether or not higher capacitance rolls off highs, because it does. The question is there a magical distance of cable between an 18-foot cable and a 25-foot cable? And so we're very clear, they really mean 18 feet between the output jack of your guitar and the input jack of your amplifier. So in other words, if you use an 18-foot cable into a pedal board that's, let's say, has 3 feet of cable and pedals through it, then into a 10-foot cable, that's a 31-foot cable as far as they're concerned, which means you would be losing those high-end frequencies. So why 18-foot cable? Well, there's 2 reasons, and we'll experiment with them in a second. One, the belief is that if you're using just the guitar to the amplifier, 18 feet is ideal because that's the maximum distance they can give you and not lose those high-end frequencies. Or if you're using an 18-foot cable into a pedal board, the belief is that those harmonic tones, those high-end frequencies, are not lost so that the pedals are hearing the truest sound of the guitar. What I have here today is the PRS 18-foot cable and 25-foot cable. But I'm going to go ahead and record today using my Zoom H5, so I'm not going to tamper with the file when it goes into post-production. I'm going to take the SD card, load it in the computer, and just open it up in the editing software and leave it as a raw file. I'm going to record my Fender Princeton today, setting this up. I'm also not going to use the reverb on the Princeton, so not to color it, and I'm going to keep the guitar on the bridge pickup with all the tone controls forward. Let's turn that off, and I'm going to run the amplifier flat. In other words, both controls, tone controls at 5. Let's go ahead and record. So to do this test, I'm just going to play 3 chords with each cable, and I'll put them side by side so we can see if we hear a difference. There was a little bit of a difference, and the difference seemed improved. That's, of course, just using standard chords and listening for it. I would have never noticed it in a million years, I can tell you right now, but do I think there's a difference? It's possible. I know what you're thinking. Who worries about this stuff? Well, to be honest with you, 18 feet to 25 feet may not be a huge difference, but the longer you run the cable, the more you're going to lose those highs. The question becomes, what do you do if you're trying to run 2 25-foot guitar cables through 5 feet of pedals that are all true bypass? You're going to lose some high frequencies, so what do? You can fix that by adding a buffer pedal. Companies like JHS and Lawrence Petros pedals make buffer pedals. However, I've never used a buffer pedal. It's not something I use. And the main reason is because, somewhere around here, I use a Boss pedal, especially like a tuner pedal that's buffered. So I'll use a buffered boss pedal and put it in the signal. You don't even need to turn it on. It just needs to be powered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the 18-foot cable right now to the 18 into this pedal through the 20-foot cable to see if I notice a difference. Here we go. It is powered on, but I will not have it on because it will mute the sound. And I'm going to strum the 3 chords. And then in post, I'll compare them to and we can hear them together. Here we go. Ready? I definitely thought the buffered using the tuner pedal was the most improved of the 3, or the best of the 3. Really curious to see what's going to happen in post if I hear it in the recording. But if we can or cannot, just for my testimonial purposes, I did hear a slight difference. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up to let me know you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more like this, you can subscribe. As always, thank you so much for your time, and know your gear.